So, hello everyone. My name's Kishan Bhatt. We're part of the Kingsley Wood team, and we're also joined by our guest today, Helen. And today we're going to talk about self-employment and a self-employed role, and how work-life balance and wellness. I think these are really important topics in business. And this is the Kingsley Wood Business Talk series. So, first, I would like to get you guys to introduce yourselves, if you don't mind. So, to my left we have Judy. So, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Judy Rule. I am an employment specialist. I deal with the whole range of employment matters from recruitment through to, unfortunately, dismissal on some occasions. I also help with policies, procedures, contracts, redundancies, settlement negotiations and settlement agreements. So yes, I do the whole employment package from the whole recruitment life cycle.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, my name is Roderick. So I'm a litigator like Kishan. My focus is corporate litigation, but like many consultants, I work in many areas. A lot of director and shareholder disputes, a lot of property disputes for companies, sometimes individuals, and a mix of other things: employment tax, a bit of pensions, a bit of everything here and there.
Thanks, Judy. Thanks, Rod. And Helen, would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Helen, and I'm an empowerment coach. I'm a J Shetty certified life coach and a progressive life coach too. And I am the owner of Be the Best You Coaching.
That's great. So I know Jay Shetty. We had this conversation before. So known him for a very long time before he became famous, I'd say. So great to have you on board. And today, we're talking about self-employment. What has made you become self-employed? What was the reason why you went self-employed in the first place?
I thought it was a more attractive business model, so I trained at a number of city firms, enjoyed it very much. But ultimately, there is a culture of, let's say, a culture of control where one is labelled as being belonging to a particular department. One has particular demands. One's ability to afford one's destiny is much more limited. As a consultant, one markets to many different types of clients and can get work of many varieties. And so I found that the autonomy is far greater. I've been able to do work as an advocate that I just wouldn't likely get had I still been at a city firm. I've had a far greater range of work. So it's exciting to have that freedom and autonomy over one's practice.
Interesting. And why do you think why is autonomy so important for you? What was the reasons? What's the reasons why?
I think one can then essentially plan one's career more. There are certain firms where, well, maybe one might have expertise in a number of areas, but because of the way the firm's structured, one's stuck with a particular department. It's difficult to do work for other departments at certain firms. Here, one can really work with so many different areas, and I think that freedom is really what's attractive.
Great. And we speak about freedom all the time, and a lot of people go into self-employment because they want that freedom. So how important is freedom as a concept for you guys?
I think it's important because you need a work-life balance. If you have worked and you've kind of burnt yourself out a little bit of it, then you need to kind of sit back and reflect and decide whether or not you want to be working full-time or whether or not you want to be flexible. And so, yeah, I think work-life balance is really important.
Yeah, and you spoke about sort of being worked too much. I guess lawyers often, have challenging hours. Have you kind of found that previously in your roles, and how have you sort of tried to overcome them?
It's difficult because the work needs to be done. So you do end up working sometimes late into the night.
Yeah.
With this consultancy model, you are able to take on clients as you want to. So you can sort of negotiate how many clients you have and how much work you put in. And so you're able to manage your time a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I'm going to bring Helen here because Helen, you're obviously in the wellness space and you're a coach yourself. And there's actually a statistic that 1 in 5 lawyers are really unhappy at the moment in the industry because they're far too overworked. There's a lot of management. And with that, a lot of responsibility, which people don't want, and that's why the consultancy model has been quite attractive. How do you kind of perceive work-life balance, and how do you kind of coach that?
For professionals, work-life balance can look very different. It's not necessarily a 50-50 split. Yeah, and that's the most important part of it. Work-life balance would be for you to have a fulfilling work life as well as a fulfilling family social life. Yeah. How do you do that? The first thing you would do is put boundaries in.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the main things that I would say is it's okay for you to say no. Okay,
Mhm.
because you can't do everything. Yes, you're this professional that's working in this high powered environment which has lots of targets, lots of pressures, and lots of timelines that you've got to meet, but you need to show up as your own authentic self. And that may mean saying no, that may mean prioritizing um, prioritizing your work in a way that suits you as opposed to just um, saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
It could mean time blocking. It could mean you saying, like having breaks in between clients so that you don't have this burnout and you don't have this stress. Because we know that that causes mistakes and mistakes cost money.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important.
No, absolutely. And I always say self-employment is always a leap of good faith, right? Because quite often, although people are overworked, they have a set salary, they have a set income, and so they've got a bit of a cushion there. So I know that leaping into a self-employed role, and all three of you are self-employed. Did you find that a daunting prospect? And if so, how did you overcome that?
I practiced at another consultancy firm beforehand, and yes, it was daunting in some respects, but I think that both that firm and Kingsley would have been so successful with referrals. It was exciting to find that the process was really achieved already. It wasn't particularly onerous or risky, I found, and the work did come in. So in that sense, I found the transition quite happy.
Yeah. Anyone else to add?
I think self-employment can give you an element of freedom. For me, I coach clients all around the world in different time zones. So I can work early in the morning and I can work late at night. And I have that flexibility to choose my hours. And I want to reach people globally. So it works for me, the self-employment.
Sure. And I think it's slightly different perspectives. Correct me if I'm wrong, Helen. Is this your own business? Are you sort of one person in the business, or do you have others?
No,
It's just you. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So and Rod touched on cross referrals within the business, and I guess I always talk about the importance of community, building a community of trust between like-minded individuals. And I think there's two different perspectives here. One where you're supported by a community, one where you're sort of on your own. How do you sort of business is a lonely place for people that are doing it themselves. So how do you sort of overcome challenges in your self-employed role?
Part of my business is to have my own clients, but also I work for Jay Shetty and
Mhm.
I'm on Jay Shetty's team and I coach his community. So that in turn gives me a lot of exposure and a lot of help where I need it. I work with another team that gives me all the help that I would need in my own to take over to my own personal business as well. So that's why.
Excellent. And maybe you can give us some concepts that have kind of worked for you from your coaching. For those people that that are watching out there, that are on their own, they're directors of businesses, they're going to have challenges. They have no one to go to quite often. What kind of advice can you give them?
Set boundaries, set
Mhm.
clear boundaries. Your hours of work, when you're going to switch off from emails, when you're going to put your phone down, because our phone is next to us all the time. When are we going to pick up our phone? When are we going to put it down? Have good quality sleep. Um, have breaks in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's developing all the skills and finding out what you need as a person. That will help you be the best version of you and for you to give your best.
Absolutely. And I always say that, I speak about this in my family as well, that your phone is like your life support machine, right? You can't do without it. And I guess it's quite sad we live in that kind of world. And I want to talk about a bit about that because, as lawyers, it can be quite demanding. Clients have got deadlines, they're quite pressured. And I guess the expectations have changed now, right? Since previously when people would put their phones in the work and come home and there's nothing to answer to, but now clients, I guess, expect an instant response. We live in that sort of instant kind of lifestyle, right? So how do you, Rod and Judy, how do you overcome that, or is there a way in which you kind of deal with that?
I see the issue. I think the issue's there, and it's been there for the last 20 years, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've been practicing since 2009. I qualified in 2011. It's been there for some time for me, and it goes back further, of course. Mobile phone, remember coming out in high school. I think it's sometimes more of a sort of threat or concern than reality, but one has to be mindful of it because there could be an urgent update, and it might be what one is unlucky. It seems one simply does check one's phone a lot as the solution. I think there's a lot of clients who believe that it's important to deal with things extremely quickly, and sometimes there are many issues that you need to digest more slowly, and so there's a richer understanding that can come out in terms of objectives. So there are different styles of working, I've found. There are some that are very keen to sue, and it's important to walk through the options, the risks, the costs, and things like that, and that can lead to earlier settlement anyway, because people's expectations are in greater alignment. So in that sense, the sort of overall feel can be different once it gets going, and there's a bit more flexibility. But I do have my phone ringer on. I check it. Usually they're quite. Usually they have similar hours to me, so in that sense, it's not too early, not too late, but it does happen here and there.
Good. And Judy, anything to add to that?
Because my clients are in employment, I find that they appreciate the fact that your downtime is your downtime. There are some that are obviously they need more attention, and they need responses quicker. But I do find that most of my clients are very respectful of the sort of work-life balance because they are in an employment situation, and they may well have been in a situation where they found that they were working excessive hours, so they tend to respect it. But I do check my emails on my phone, and I do sort of prioritize by flagging emails. That's my to-do list. So I put a flag and a date and whatever, so that I can deal with the emails as they come in and in the order of priority. So, but yes, I used to have clients that called me on a Sunday,
right?
After lunch and stuff. So,
and do you take those calls?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
I may have been out and about, and I needed to take them outside the venue that I was in. But yeah, it's not giving your personal phone number to your clients, and the sort of VoIP style phone systems help with that, sort of, so you don't have to sort of reveal your own personal details. So,
and with the VoIP, I guess with the VoIP phone calls, you can Kingsley Wood, we provide that, so you can change the times and when you can answer and can't answer. When you're actually out of office, you can have that feature, and so people won't just call you when they clients just won't call you when they need you on demand. It's sort of can be managed, right? Yeah. Maybe let's talk about, obviously you're an employment lawyer, and I know that there's been employment challenges around this. It'd be interesting to find out a bit more about that perspective. I'm sure there's cases out there where employees are spending their own time, their own home time, if you like, their own lives to deal with work stuff. How can employers deal with those kind of issues, and have you come across anything like that?
Well, I think that the government are sort of trying to introduce the sort of concept of downtime for employees, where you're not supposed to. I mean, it's not enforced at the moment, but they're putting it out there that you're not supposed to contact employees when they're at home or during their downtime. But in terms of current cases, those sort of cases do tend to sort of focus around micromanagement and sort of mental health as well.
Yeah.
Where employees feel that they are expected to be on call 24/7, even though their hours are 9 to 5 or 9 to 5:30 or whatever. So,
and you touched on mental health there, and I think mental health is obviously a really important topic, right? And very prevalent at the moment, unfortunately, I guess.